Welcome to the MFR Coaches podcast, where we talk about how you can create a six-figure MFR practice. I'm your host, Heather Hommel. Not only have I been practicing MFR for 11 years, I'm also a life and business coach, especially for MFR therapists. My goal is for you to understand how to get fully booked, how to talk to your clients, and how to make sure they understand what's possible for them with MFR treatment. I'm here to help you stop under-earning, overworking, and burning out. I'll lend support so you can create the MFR practice you've always wanted. Learn how you can do it too, even if you live in a tiny town, and even if you're just starting out, and even if you've ran your practice for years. Let's go. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the MFR Coaches podcast. Today, I'm joined by someone super special who just released their second book, and I'm so excited to share the details of her journey and both books that she's written with you. She is a myofascial release therapist. She's a physiotherapist and expert level practitioner. She's also a body-mind coach. She has one-on-one conversations with those who struggle with chronic pain or anxious thinking. She's currently based in Northern Ireland, where she runs her own private practice and holistic healing space called the Garden Room. And this is where she assists her clients in their quest to resolve pain and optimize their health. Her first book, Finding Mystery Within, is a self-published memoir that evolved from her 35-year career in healing and the journey that she took to rediscover the self-worth that she lost as a child. In it, she beautifully blends her unique experiences with an intimate grasp of bodywork and invites the reader to transform their pain into passion. Her second book, Quiet Mind, Quiet Body, combines the latest in pain neuroscience with a psycho-spiritual understanding called the Three Principles. It bridges the gap between science and spirituality and offers hope to those struggling with persistent pain. Julie McCammon, I am so excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome in. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Heather, and thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. Why don't you tell the listeners kind of how you originally became a myofascial release therapist, and then we'll get into your books.
Yeah. So yes, I'd been working as a physiotherapist for probably about 20 plus years. And I had been struggling with my own health for over a 15-year period. I had developed viral meningitis many years ago when I was actually up the foothills of the Himalayas. So that's a story in itself, trying to get evacuated out of there and get home safely. So yeah, I had viral meningitis, and then then that developed into like post-viral fatigue, chronic fatigue, and then I was sort of being labeled with fibromyalgia as well. And that was really over a 15-year period when looking back now, I can see how I was ignoring the wisdom of my body that was trying desperately to get my attention. But I just kept pushing through and ignoring the signs and symptoms. And then I got to the point where I thought I was actually going to have to stop working as a physio, because I just had nothing left at the end of the day. I had two young children and was married, and I just found it really hard to work and have a personal life as well with the symptoms that I was struggling with. So I was running a busy physiotherapy clinic at the time and thought, something's got to give here. But then I had heard about myofascial release and heard that it was a much more gentle technique for the therapist to deliver. So I thought, okay, I'll go and train in this, and that'll just keep me working as a physio and help me to keep my busy clinic going. So I'm a great believer in sort of going to the source. So I did a bit of research and discovered John F. Barnes, and it just all worked out. Like I had a really good friend who lived in Cincinnati, who was a massage therapist, and I noticed that John was doing the first three courses back to back in Cincinnati. So I messaged my friend Sandy, and we both went together, did the three courses. And I think because you're getting so much hands-on treatment when you're practicing on each other, when you're learning the techniques, that whenever I came home, I virtually had no symptoms.
Wow.
And that was after 15 years of struggling.
Wow, that's incredible. So then were you just like, okay, I'm all in?
Yes, absolutely. Like when I came home, I did find it hard to sort of start introducing it with my patients because yeah, they were so used to other manual sort of techniques, and you know yourself with the myofascial releases, like it starts so gently, and I was thinking, oh, my patients are going to be thinking, what is she actually doing?
Yeah, is she
Uh,
taking a nap over there?
yeah. But I would do my traditional, what I was used to, and then I would add in a couple of myofascial release techniques at the very end of the treatment and just explain that it was something new I'd learned and I was just trying it out. And they would come back in the next week and they would go, Julie, whatever you did in that treatment, can you do more of that? You know, because they suddenly noticed a big difference in their own bodies.
Mhm.
So that was how I sort of gradually, and then, yeah, I traveled back to America probably twice a year for the next sort of 5, 6 years, continuing to train with John. And yeah, that's,
Amazing. That's so cool. I always ask this question of people because I want to know like where did your journey begin? And I think for a lot of us as therapists, it starts with our own pain or the pain of a loved one that's not being resolved. And then we find this work and then we fall in love with it because it's so effective. So you have a busy physio career as an MFR therapist, and then when did you start writing books? When did you decide to become an author?
yeah. Yeah, it's something that I never ever dreamed that I would do. And that's part of the story because at school, I definitely struggled academically.
Hmm.
My English teacher told me I was dyslexic and illiterate and would amount to nothing. And I always struggled to use my voice, you know, to speak in front of people because he always shamed me in front of the whole class. He would used to pick on me and make me read aloud because he knew I would stutter and stammer and get embarrassed easily. So yeah, I never ever imagined that I would write a book. But during the COVID lockdown, I wasn't able to work, and I'd always been a journaler. I'd always loved keeping a diary or just journaling. It just felt like a safe place for me to write my thoughts and just explore things. So during lockdown, I got into the habit of every morning making a big pot of green tea. I love green tea. And I would take it up to our garden shed behind the house, and I would just sit and journal and read and write. And I got about halfway through lockdown and I started to think, there's more in these journals than just for you. There's something more here. So I had done a little bit of work with Deb Epstein, who's a MFR therapist. Yeah. And I noticed I was getting emails from Deb, and I noticed that she was about to start a 10-month online program called Conscious Creativity. So I messaged her and I said, like, I know Deb's an artist, and I sort of thought, oh, I wonder, is that just for arty people?
Hmm.
I messaged her and said, Deb, I just have this thing about writing a book about my story, but the program you're doing, is it more for just artists? And she said, no, definitely not. This would be perfect for you. So I signed up and did that, a 10-month program with Deb, just a container of maybe 8 people. And it was lovely because it just really kept me accountable. So each week or each month when we were meeting up as a group, I just felt accountable and, you know, had a plan of what I was going to do. And yeah, it just came about. And my book came out of that my first book, Finding Mystery Within.
I
So,
love that.
which is my story.
I love that so much. Where can people find that book?
It's available on Amazon.
Okay. All right, great. So everybody pull your car over safely, go order your copy. So then what was going on when you created your second book?
Yeah. So, probably about 3, 4 years ago, my husband is a coach, and he had come across this understanding called the three principles. And he would try to talk to me about it, and it just went over my head. I hadn't a clue what he was talking about. And then he got me to read this book, which is fiction, but it's about somebody with chronic pain. and the three principles. So the penny started to drop for me. I could see how many of my chronic pain patients were really caught up in a cycle of fearful thinking about their pain, which was actually perpetuating their pain no matter what I did with them. So, yes, then I got really interested in the three principles and did a lot of reading and listening to podcasts. And then I decided to sort of take a deep dive into the latest pain neuroscience because I felt that it was saying the same thing.
Hmm.
So, yeah, the two just were like two pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. I felt they really fitted together and it really helped to explain how we get innocently caught in that cycle of fearful thinking.
Hmm.
And yeah, so then I just started writing my second book. I could feel that all coming together. And then I had an experience myself of a acute low back pain where I tore a disc in my back about 4 years ago. And it went on for 18 weeks and it was excruciating. And I knew in my mind intellectually that the disc would have healed itself by
Hmm.
then because I do believe in our body's innate capacity to heal. But now looking back, I could see how I had innocently got caught up in a cycle of really anxious thinking. I was catastrophizing because I was thinking, I'm the person that's meant to fix people's backs and I can't even fix my own back.
Hmm.
And I was petrified of having to get surgery because I told my patients to avoid surgery like the plague. And I specialized in back pain. That's what I've worked with for over 20 years. So yeah, it was just a real light bulb moment. And then after about 18 weeks, I remember reading a poem on Facebook. I can't remember what the poem said or who it was by, but it was just enough to take me out of my busy mind and all that fearful thinking. And it just took my attention away from all my thoughts and thinking, and it took me into a quieter space, a quiet place. And I went to bed that night and I remember thinking, you need to detach from the outcome. And that was a real line that I could hear John Barnes almost saying in my ear. Detach from the outcome. You're going to be okay. Even if you do need surgery, you're still going to be okay. And I woke up the next day and my pain was gone.
Wow.
Yeah. So that showed me the power of my mind, the power of my thoughts and my thinking in just keeping those neural pathways very easily stimulated and easily triggered. So again, that a experience definitely propelled me to write this book.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I've also, I don't know if you know this about me, but I also herniated a disc in my back. And did end up having surgery, but there were many times where I had kind of like that crisis of modality where I'm like, hey, like this isn't supposed to happen to me. I'm supposed to be able to fix this. And I was getting a ton of treatment. And I had to have an MFR therapist say to me, like, sometimes you do need to have surgery. And
Mm.
sometimes like it's okay to have the intervention, because I was so stuck on like this has got to work. Like, why isn't this working? And the frustration and the enormous amount of pain and dysfunction that comes with having an injury like that, right? So I think I can appreciate like both aspects of how incredibly amazing our bodies are at healing and how, like even when I would have moments of pain relief, I would just think it's incredible that like this can go away, but then it would come back. I think we must absorb the disc or something during the day. I don't know. And I'd always be like, maybe it's because I wore an estrogen patch today. Maybe it was because I did this or did that. So frustrating. But I think that's incredible that that was your experience and to be able to feel like that those patterns and those neural pathways in your brain, like feeling that switch like that and your pain go away. That's amazing. I love that for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very good.
It's not to say that that was the end of it. Like maybe 2 months later, I had another episode of really gripping pain. And my mind started to go there again. I started to think, oh no, not another 18 weeks of this.
Mhm.
But I caught myself. I caught those busy thoughts and a lot of thinking that I was adding on to it. And I just thought, no, I'm not going down that rabbit hole. And I just tried to reassure myself, yes, I'm sore, but I'm safe.
Hmm.
And it only lasted for 48 hours that time.
That's really great. I'm going to remember that for I have setbacks all the time. I'll do something
Yeah.
really active and then I'm like, oh no, like that fear of it coming back is a real thing, like forever after you have an injury like that, because it's so debilitating. So very good. Okay, so your book is out. Who is your intended audience? Like, are you giving it to your clients? Like who do you want to be the ones that are reading this book?
Yeah, it's really for people that are struggling with persistent pain, or fall into that chronic pain category, which is over 3 months after injury. So yeah, it's for my clients and I'm also hoping that healthcare professionals will lift it and read it as well, because there is quite a bit of research and the pain neuroscience in it. But I've written it in a way that hopefully patients and clients can read it, but also that it has that credibility that healthcare professionals will find it useful as well in their conversations with their clients. And then I produced a little booklet as well called Rethinking Pain, which is basically a summary chapter out of this new book. And it's done with great graphics and everything. And I know some MFR therapists that have been using it and finding it really, really useful with their patients, because the visual really helps them to grasp how important it is to not run away with all those thoughts and thinking, because yeah, we're all human, and as you said, it is a fearful time whenever you feel that old familiar pain raising its head. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, I love this idea of talking about this on this podcast specifically so that more MFR therapists like can know that you've done this work and this work is out there so we can really help make MFR mainstream and help our patients to understand what is actually possible for them. And I think giving people hope is so important. And you're one of those people that has now written down the hope that you gave yourself and you're sharing it with other people. So I think that's really, really awesome. And I love that people are picking it up to help educate themselves and help educate their patients. That's wonderful. I think anytime we can learn to talk about what's possible, especially with myofascial release, and shine light on it and to say it in words that people can understand is just really helpful. And then it's nice to have the sciencey backup to it too for the science wizards out there that need to have
Yeah.
that component. Yeah, that's so great. Is there anything else you want to tell us about what this book means to you or what you like see this book becoming in the future? Like what are your hopes for this book?
Well, I'm starting to dip my toe in the water of coaching, which is very different from hands-on, which I've done for 35 years. But I feel that this understanding is so powerful, like not just to do with pain, but just in your whole life. Because I ran like a pilot study, a pilot program, I with four of my patients who struggled with chronic pain, and I called it Quiet Mind, Quiet Body. And we met
Mhm.
for 6 weeks, and I took them through just the different sort of topics that are covered in the three principles and the latest pain neuroscience, brought that all together in a program. And before I did the program, I did like a pain, a scale questionnaire with them, functional, a sort of activities of daily living,
Mhm.
and scored their their questionnaire. And then after the 6 weeks, I repeated it and rescored it, and I was blown away by the results.
Wow. That's awesome. What were some of the results?
Well, just a huge like reduction in their medication, in their pain relief, a huge reduction in their pain scores, and they were just able to get up and get out and do a lot more, because they could see the power of their own thoughts and their own thinking in holding them captive. It's like that quote, I can't remember who said it, but like every cell in your body is eavesdropping on your thoughts.
Mm,
So the more anxious thinking we have, the more that affects our behavior. So thoughts produce feelings, which can be either emotions or sensations. And then those feelings dictate our behavior. So that's sort of the flow chart really of how the power.
That's very like close to the way I coach. Like I coach on businesses, right? Which is a different thing, but the whole basis of it is that your thoughts create your results. Like thoughts, you're gonna have a thought about a circumstance, then you're gonna have a feeling based on what you're thinking, and then you're gonna either do or not do things, and that's gonna ultimately like give you your results. So I use that in my business coaching very, very heavily, and it's really important to me and also like amazing to me to see when someone like the light turns on in their eye and they're like, oh, I'm like kind of creating my own personal hell the way I'm thinking right now. And I can just shift that. You don't have to like immediately change your thought, but like just having that awareness around it. And I think it goes back to like John saying, without awareness, there's no choice. You
Yes.
just have so much more choice when you have the awareness of like what's causing the problem or the thing that you don't want, the negative result. So,
Yeah.
very cool. And I think that's amazing to use that with people's pain and their perception of their pain. And it's very, very, very powerful.
But all four of those ladies that were in that group, uh, they didn't want it to end. So we have met sort of monthly since that.
Great.
And I can see how it has impacted so many other areas of their lives as well, just this understanding. So that's really exciting to see. And my hope is for the book that it just brings hope and healing into to people's lives that are really just stuck in that situation, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It is not fun. I think it's very isolating to be in pain. And it's very interesting how quickly pain goes from, an acute situation to a chronic situation. Like you said, it's anything over 3 months. It's like wild, right? You're a regular functioning person, and then now you have a chronic pain condition, and that changes your life.
Yeah. And one of the studies that I included in the book, which I find fascinating, is it was a study done by Professor O'Sullivan. He's an Australian physiotherapist. And he took a group of people that all had been referred with acute low back pain and he scanned them all. He took 50% of them and told them every tiny detail of their scan, like a bulging disc or an annular tear or whatever the tiniest little details were. And then he took the other 50% and told them their scans were normal for their age. There was nothing sinister. And then he followed them up 8 weeks later, and everybody in the group that had been told every single detail still were in pain.
Mhm.
And everybody in the group that were told their scans were normal were better.
Wow, that's so
So it's the power of our words also create. And I think as therapists, that's so important to remember because I know, for example, like my mum has quite bad arthritis in her neck, and she was told when she was about 50, oh, you've the neck of an 80-year-old. So she's always like worried about her neck and very cautious, and it does have a lot of neck pain. So I think as therapists, we just need to be very careful how we diagnose and how we use our words because I know when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, I was fortunate because being a physiotherapist, I had seen so many people misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I thought, I'm not taking that label on. But so many people do become very attached to their diagnosis, like my fibromyalgia or my arthritis, they take ownership of it. And that again makes it very difficult to shift that mindset.
Yeah, I think I was very thankful for some of the education we'd had in myofascial release seminars, knowing I was going to get all of this back imaging and knowing that it would be normal for me to have like bulging discs, places in my spine. It didn't necessarily mean anything had gone wrong. And also arthritis, by the time you're almost 50, like you've got these things going on. So when I got my results back, the only thing that really concerned me was like that the where I had the herniation was creating like the nerve pain that it was like accurate, but like all the other things that were discovered like didn't matter. And I don't really ever think about them, or I just think, well, that's just a normal spine, a normal active spine. But I could see where some people would be like every little detail could spin you out and make you very cautious and scared to do anything else. And I still have to be on to myself about being recovered from surgery for a whole year and being like, even when you have pain, it doesn't mean you have to stop what you're doing. It doesn't mean you're unable to do it. I finally went back to my first seminar in 2 years this last weekend and was able to fully treat people. I just had like one thing where maybe the table was a little bit too low and I'm not like injured. You know, I was a little bit sore and I knew when I was doing it that it was going to hurt later, but it was okay. It wasn't enough where I was going to like not treat the person. So just like thankful to know what I know and also to be able to like manage my thoughts around it with using the tools I have. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because we are all human, and it's so natural when you're feeling pain or discomfort somewhere in your body to start thinking the worst case scenario, or
Yeah,
your
for
your
sure.
mind goes there.
Hmm.
But yeah, the more you can just know that that is just a thought and just let it pass, because thoughts always pass. It's only when we grab a hold of it and add a lot more thinking around it that it becomes our reality then.
Are your coaching programs going to be available online or like how would someone contact you if they were interested in that?
Yeah, my website is quietmind.quietbody.co.uk. And yeah, I can either do the one-to-one coaching online or in person as well. And then I'm starting to develop a new program which will involve myofascial release for 50 minutes, and then one-to-one coaching straight after that, so that it really brings the mind and the body together, because I think that potentially has so much power.
Mhm. That's awesome. Okay, so for people listening, make sure you go and you visit her website and check Julie's offerings out. I think having online offerings makes it open to the whole world. So that's great. Let's talk a little bit for a couple minutes about what is the state of myofascial release like in Ireland? Like, are there tons of Irish therapists out there doing it, or what's it like being over there doing this work?
No, I'd say there's myself and one other girl, Rosina, who
Mhm.
Rosina I think's done a MFR 1 and 2 maybe. So yeah, that there's only really the three of us. Now there are some maybe therapists down south in Dublin area that do myofascial release, but it wouldn't be John's training. I think Rosina and myself are the only two in Ireland
Wow.
that have done John training.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so what is it like being the only two providers or being one of two providers in the whole country?
It is hard because more so whenever I want treatment,
Yeah.
that's really difficult. Like I literally have to either fly to America, or sometimes Rosina and I have done like treatment swaps. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But yeah, I love it. Like I've always been a therapist that has sort of quite entrepreneurial, really. I was the first therapist in the UK trained in another method called the Sarah Key method, which I still use and I love. It's an Australian method where I use my feet to mobilize the spine. And it's really good for mobilizing stiff spinal segments and swollen facet joints. So yeah, I still use that in combination sometimes, if because I feel when you do the myofascial release, yes, you're getting brilliant fascial releases, but if you've got a spinal segment that's stuck, really stuck, it does need that little bit of mobilization. So yeah, I always love learning something new and continuing to develop and grow as a person and as a therapist.
Yeah, that's great. And I always think too, everybody's treatment, we're all trained in the same method, right? If we're John Barnes trained, but we're all going to treat slightly different based on where we've come from, where we've been, what else we know. So it gives everything its own flavor. I think that's why I respect that there's no sort of like hardcore certification. Like we have the freedom to practice how we are, which is really nice. Well, I just appreciate you joining us today and sharing your story and a brief bit about where your books come from. I'm hoping that people will jump online and go and order those from Amazon, find both of your books.
Well, this one's also available from a Barnes and Noble, or it's Ingram Spark, the
Okay.
new one, Quiet Mind, Quiet Body. So it's available from more outlets in America.
Oh, great. Okay. So that's wonderful if there's more places to get it. I need to order my copies and get them on the way here. I'll do that when we get off this call. get them sent to me. I was so excited to interview Julie. I saw her post on Insight and I just like instantly reached out and got her on the show before I could even order the book. But I had seen you talking about this and I thought it was really important to reach out and get this interview going. So appreciate you being here. Appreciate you taking the time. I know it's late at night for you over there. So we will have your links to your website in the show notes. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, just that the new book isn't actually available. It's available for pre-order now, but it's being released on the 8th of August.
Okay, very exciting. Well, congratulations on the new book, and I wish you the best. And hopefully, we'll run into each other again.
Yes. Thank you so much, Heather, for the opportunity.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you. All right, everybody, we'll see you on another episode of the MFR Coaches Podcast next week. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the MFR Coaches Podcast. If you're ready to grow your myofascial release practice, make sure to sign up for my next free training. These live webinars are designed to help you take real steps towards building a fully booked, profitable business. You can save your seat and find the latest dates at themfrcoach.com/webinar. And if you're looking for more support, the Foundations program is now open year-round. Inside, you'll get coaching, tools, and community to help you get fully booked and stay that way without burning out. One last thing before you go. My brand new book, Your MFR Practice Starts Here, is now available. It's a must-read for any MFR therapist who wants to build a business that actually works. You can grab your copy on Amazon and get your companion guide by going to themfrcoach.com/book. Start implementing right away. I'll see you in the next episode.